the Africa we want.
Hello and welcome, viewers. The Africa we want begins in our classrooms. Across the continent, the dream of Agenda 2063, a prosperous, united and innovative Africa, depends on one foundation: education. With 1.4 billion people and nearly two-thirds under the age of 25, Africa holds the youngest population in the world. Yet, according to the United Nations, more than 98 million African children are still out of school, while only 20% of schools have access to the internet. As the world advances through artificial intelligence and digital transformation, Africa's young minds cannot afford to be left behind, because education is not just one of the goals in Agenda 2063. It is the engine that will drive every goal. It is how Africa will innovate, compete, and claim its place as a global powerhouse. Today, we ask the defining question of our generation: will we invest in education to build the African we want?
Africa's dream of emerging as a true global powerhouse will remain just that, a dream, unless the continent makes a bold and sustainable investment in education. This is the rallying cry echoing across classrooms, policy tables, and leadership forums as educators and experts call for education to be placed firmly at the center of Africa's development agenda. In an inclusive discussion with Pulse of Africa, education leaders, union representatives, and policy experts painted a sobering picture of challenges facing Africa's education sector and the immense opportunity that lies ahead if governments take decisive action. Education is not taken as the pillar it should be, said Goroda Bagopi, Vice President for Gender and Women's Rights at the Botswana Teachers Union. Funding is very minimal, yet the future of our generation depends on quality education. Without proper classrooms and facilities, we cannot transform our future. Bagopi's words echo a deep truth. Education is the backbone of every successful nation. Yet across Africa, millions of children still learn under trees, in overcrowded rooms, or in unsafe conditions. Teachers, the heartbeat of education, are often underpaid, undertrained, and undervalued.
The state of education in Botswana is very pathetic because we still have some great challenges of funding. Education is not taken as the pillar. The funding part of it is very minimal. So I believe that the government has to up their games and fund education to transform the future of the coming generation, because the future of the generation is based in education, not only education but the quality one. And we can have quality assurance when the huge amount of funding is diverted to education. We still experience some dilapidated classrooms. We still experiencing where there's some areas whereby there are no classrooms at all. We are still having some places whereby a canvas is used as classroom, which is not conducive for the 21st century learning. In terms of the STEM or the internet, the technology achievement, I believe we are still left behind. As the revolution is changing, I believe it's very important for us to up our game as Botswana to match the standard, so that we can also revolutionize education and join the technology transformation as per the 21st century requirements. So I believe the main pillar of life should be funding education.
This call for investment goes beyond local policy. It is a part of a global movement to achieve the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal number 4, ensuring inclusive, equitable, and quality education for all by 2030. But time is running out. Experts warn that if urgent steps are not taken, Africa risks falling far short of this global commitment. At the same time, Africa's own blueprint for progress, the African Union's Agenda 2063, the Africa we want, recognizes education as a foundation for economic growth, innovation, and continental unity. Africa can solve its own problems. We have African governments, African experts, and African teachers. We must bring them together, emphasizes Dr. Young Pirio, Director of Parliament at the African Union Simulation. Only Africa will deliver the best education system for Africa. His message resonates with a growing sense of continental pride and self-reliance. Africa's transformation, he said, must be built on African solutions, not imported models that fail to reflect local realities.
It is never too late to start what is right, Africa is the world's solution, and the best brain that revolution the world today are from Africans. But because we are not profiling ourselves, we tend to be backward. We tend to allow the Western media to control the narrative in Africa. With this kind of educational launch that has been in place for the continental advancement, in line with the Agenda 2063 of the African Union, where Africa is becoming a global powerhouse. We cannot build an Africa that will become a global powerhouse of the future if education is not a critical aspect in it. So the launch of this three-phase of education is a right step in the right direction. We talked about innovation. Technology is not nothing to write home about any longer because we're talking of AI. And like I said, the people driving this key aspect of education outside Africa are Africans. So now we are walking the talk, identifying our best brain and creating a system where we can elevate our teachers and our students to meet up with the progression of the world as the world is revolving. We are going to use this model of education to meet up with the rest of the world. And I tell you, with the kind of passion and the commitment we're seeing now, we are very committed. You can go back, you see in many sectors now, we're training our teachers, people are putting money, individuals, even organizations, public sectors, private sectors are putting money into education to see that education is key. Like for us at JetAge, we have been able to set up an agenda and template for education in Africa. We've signed MOU across board where Africans teach Africans the right way, not the way we go to school before to be employed, but now we're teaching our people not to go to school to be employed, but to go to school to be an employer of labor. This is the kind of education that we are bringing to the system. And I tell you, with this kind of education, the Africa that we want is going to be before our eyes.
For decades, education systems in many African countries were inherited from colonial powers, often out of touch with local languages, cultures, and development needs. Reforming those systems is not just about modernizing curricula, it's about reclaiming Africa's narrative. Today, there's new urgency to build education systems that empower the next generation with the skills, creativity, and confidence to compete globally while staying rooted in African values. As the world races ahead into the digital era, technology has become the new currency of progress. Artificial intelligence, data science, robotics, and automation are reshaping industries and economies. Yet many African schools are still struggling to gain even basic internet access. How do we align ourselves with global trends, especially with the coming age of AI? This must be international under the AU, as part of how we move this continent forward, urged Mr. Henry Sinkala, General Secretary of the Basic Education Teachers Union of Zambia.
The African region must do a lot in terms of identifying what kind of education would ensure that the general citizenry in Africa have competences and skills to actually be relevant to the new or to the 21st century. Oftentimes, our curriculums in our continent are curriculums which are out of touch with reality. So we need to come up with a standardized curriculum which I believe should be competence-based, a curriculum that does not support only the white-collar jobs, but a curriculum that promotes skills. after identifying skills gaps in our communities, in our countries, it's high time we came up with a standardized curriculum for all the member states. So that curriculum would need a lot of funding from various governments, and AU would come in to make sure that such a curriculum is implemented in all African countries. You see, as a continent, our challenges are almost the same. We are one family, we are one big family. So one such a problem, for example, is the issue of unemployment. So how do we deal with unemployment? It's through a curriculum. How do we deal with the inequality education? There are a number of things that we need to do as a continent. Number one, we need to motivate the teachers. How are we remunerating the teachers? How are the teachers paid on average in Africa? How are they surviving? Are they 1 month away from poverty, or they have enough? So those are pertinent issues that we need to ask ourselves if we are serious as a continent to develop quality learning and teaching for our learners.
Across sub-Saharan Africa, only 20% of schools currently have internet access. That means millions of students are left disconnected from the digital world that is defining the future of work and innovation. Recognizing this, the African Union Commission has launched the AU Digital Education Strategy, an ambitious initiative designed to digitalize schools, provide teachers training, and ensure learners develop digital literacy as part of a broader Agenda 2063 vision. We are supporting AU member states on digital education, confirmed Dr. Kaysili Olabode, senior education expert at the African Union. The goal is to ensure that both teachers and students are fully digitalized with access to digital learning and digital literacy. Digital transformation, Olabode explained, is not merely about installing computers in classrooms, it's about reimagining education to prepare learners for a tech-driven world, from coding and AI to entrepreneurship and innovation.
Education is a human right. So what we are doing as what we are promoting at the African Union is under the Continental Education Strategy for Africa is what we call quality and inclusive education. So in alignment with the AU Agenda 2063 and the SDG 4. So under the CESA, we have 6 strategic areas, and part of that strategic area is what we call the quality and inclusive education for all. So we are making sure that no child is left behind when we talk about quality education in Africa, including the disadvantaged girls, and we are also including boys. It's not girls' education, we are including boys, and we are channeling this thing through what we call the STEM education. We want to foundational learning and STEM education in Africa. So those are the areas we want to make sure that this, what we call the inclusive and equitable education, is advanced on the continent in alignment with the Agenda 2063 and SDG 4.
While digital tools are vital, they cannot replace the role of teachers. Africa faces a staggering shortfall of 17 million teachers by 2030. Without addressing this crisis, the dream of quality education for all will remain elusive. Experts agree that education has a ripple effect on every sector of society. It drives innovation, strengthens democracy, reduces poverty, and empowers women and youth. For Africa, it is the key that unlocks every door, from health and governance to entrepreneurship and technology. Countries that have invested heavily in education, from Singapore to South Korea, transform themselves from developing economies into global leaders within a generation. Africa, with its vast human potential and youthful population, can do the same. But this will require political will, long-term commitment, and strategic investment. Africa's success depends on our ability to shape our own policies and systems that are contextually relevant, noted one education policy expert. We cannot depend on aid or external prescriptions. We must define our own path.
I believe it starts with the leaders or the state government coming outside the cocoon and believing that we are still behind in terms of executing funds in education. What we only need is to fund education I believe maybe as the Education International, the mother body where we affiliate as Botswana Teachers Unit, they go with their campaign of Go Public Fund Education.
What we have in Africa before is not that we don't have plans for increment of teacher salary, but we lack the implementation plan. We have the policy plan. So now when there is policy, we need people to drive the policy and people to implement and checkmate the policy. So once there's accountability, you will be rest assured that our teacher will smile home and they will be ready to equip themselves more to pass out relevant information and good teaching skills to our children. And I tell you for the fact that everyone needs more learning. Even the teachers need more learning. So you will create an environment where teachers will have opportunity to go for scholarship to learn more, because he who is not learning is dying. So the fact is that everyone must keep learning, unlearn, relearn, and relearn. So this is what the Africa that we want is becoming. So what we need to do is to invest more on information, getting our foot soldiers in all of this place. Teachers is not just people that go to the boardroom, it's beyond the boardroom. Teachers is everywhere you are, as a mother, as a sister, as a brother, you are teacher automatically. So with the help of AI, we're bringing out a solution now that can send message to 1 million persons in 1 second, and everybody's getting it. That is the impact of AI. And on the 28th, we're launching that here again at the public-private partnership and stakeholders engagement. All of these things, even education, is still part of what we're going to be discussing, because we're bringing investors across Africa together. One of the problems we are having, we are not going to be waiting for our help to come anywhere. Africans want to solve their own problems. We have Africa billionaires, we have Africa government, we have Africa individuals that are doing very well in their fabulous business. So we're bringing all of them together. Let's put our heads together, let's profile our solution, and let's solve our problem ourselves, because only Africa would deliver the best educational system and the best system for Africa to make Africa work. So this is what we're committed to doing, bringing our brothers together, bringing our sisters together. Let's put our resources together and solve our problem. And as I tell you, the community, I am from a community, you are from a community, and with the exposure that we have gotten, it is easy for us to pass information down to our people in the community. And if you do, I do, we do, Africa is change.
How do we align ourselves with the global trends, especially the coming in of the artificial intelligence? How do we optimize artificial intelligence? How do we embrace it? It's through forums such as this one. There must be an intent by AU that the way we want to move this continent in terms of education, in terms of embracing the AI and many other digital platforms to help our learners, it should be well explained, it should be well espoused in our Vision 2060, for example, and many other tools which support the quality education, or else we would be here on our own offering education which is very relevant to our learners, and when they go outside the continent they become even irrelevant. But we want to develop a cadre of learners, a cadre of citizens who would compete favorably with other students from other continents by aligning our curriculum with the global trends, by embracing AI and other innovations which are coming on board. For example, the issue of chalk, where teachers are teaching on blackboards, when our friends have moved miles away with smart boards, computers given to the children, computers given to the learners, and so many things, the teacher-learner pupil ratio within reasonable range, whereas elsewhere you have one teacher against 80 pupils. It is a known fact that individualized learning is highly compromised. Learners do not develop at the same pace. We have different learners who grasp concepts at different points or times. So therefore there is need for reasonable teacher-pupil ratio, construction of more classroom blocks, making education as a right by providing free education to all the citizens, like it is in Zambia. In Zambia today, as we speak, there is free education from ECE up to grade 12. so that no child is left behind. No child is given a right to be educated. If education is highly commercialized, if a learner has to pay in order to be taught by a teacher through school fees or PTA fees or examination fees, it's an hindrance to having a cadre of learners who are going to be educated. Governments must heavily invest in education so that we can have not just education, but quality education. Education which is relevant to the 21st century. Education which is impressive with the new trends globally.
We have what we call the AU digital education, and we have a strategy regarding that. We have the AU digital education strategy, and one of the things we are also promoting under the digital education is we know what COVID-19 cost. So what we are trying to do as under the AU digital education strategy is to also digitalize some of our schools. The African Union Commission, we are supporting AU member states, on digital education under the digital education strategy for Africa. So what we are doing is also to make sure that our teachers, students, they are fully digitalized. They know what we call it is digital know-how, digital learning. There are a lot of initiative on EdTech initiative that African Union is also supporting AU member states. We, as policy organ, we are only supporting the AU member state on infrastructure development, on the capacity development of teachers, on digital education, and so on and so forth. So that is what we are doing as African Union to support AU member states to make sure that this 21st century era is on the continent is also digitalized. So that is what we are doing.
By aligning national policies with these frameworks, African leaders can ensure that education not only supports economic growth, but also strengthens social cohesion and innovation. The continent's young population, the youngest in the world, represents both a challenge and an opportunity. With the right education, Africa's youth could drive the global economy, leading in science, technology, arts, and entrepreneurship. Without it, the risk is a generation left behind. The message is unified, urgent, and undeniable. Invest in education now, and Africa will define the future.
The vision of Agenda 2063, the Africa we want, will never be realized without education. At its core, every smart classroom is built, every teacher trained, every child given a chance to learn, brings us closer to a continent that is self-reliant, digital, and globally competitive. According to the African Union and UNESCO, closing Africa's education gap could add hundreds of billions of dollars to the continent's economy each year. But more importantly, it will unlock the brilliance of an entire generation. Education is the heartbeat of Agenda 2063 and the key to building the African we want.
The Africa we want.